The knock came at midnight, 3 sharp raps that pulled Dalton from sleep and sent his heart hammering before his eyes were fully open. He stumbled to the door of his cabin, still half tangled in dream, and pulled it wide without thinking. The woman on his threshold stood taller than most, green-skinned and broad-shouldered, with tusks jutting from her lower lip and pointed ears swept back beneath a tangle of dark hair. In each arm she cradled a bundle, and even in the dim lantern light he could see the small fists and wrinkled faces of infants. She looked at him with eyes that held no warmth, only a bone-deep exhaustion that made her seem ancient despite her youth. "Their father is gone," she said, her voice flat and final as a coffin lid closing. "You will do." Finn blinked. His mouth closed, opened again. "I am sorry, I think you have the wrong house. You are Finn Dalton." "Yes, but I do not know you, and I certainly do not know anything about," he gestured vaguely at the bundles in her arms. "My brother spoke of you. Gareth Moss." The name hit him like cold water. Gareth. The orc man who had stumbled into his camp 3 winters past, half dead from exposure and blood loss, whom Finn had patched up and sheltered until spring. Gareth, who had worked Finn's fields that summer in repayment, laughing and telling stories in the evenings before vanishing north with promises to return. "Gareth," Finn repeated slowly. "Is he you said gone, dead? 2 weeks now, fever took him." The orc woman shifted one of the babies higher against her shoulder. The infant made a small mewling sound. "These are his children. His daughter bore twins and died bringing them into the world. He was raising them with our clan, but the harvest failed and the clan scattered. He spoke of you often. Said you were a man who kept your word. Said you saved his life." "I only did what anyone would have. You will do," she said again, and this time there was something harder in it, something like steel wrapped in weariness. "I need shelter. I need help raising them. You owed my brother nothing, but he owed you everything. I am here to make good on that debt." Finn stared at her. One of the babies began to cry in earnest now, a thin wailing that cut through the night air. "Please," the woman said, and that single word seemed to cost her something. "I have walked for 3 days. They are hungry and cold." He stepped aside. She moved past him into the cabin, bringing with her the smell of travel and wood smoke and something else, something green and alive that he could not name. Finn closed the door and turned to find her standing in the center of his small main room, looking around with an expression he could not read. "My name is Kara Moss," she said. "This is Dagrun." She lifted her left arm slightly. "And this is Sigrun," the right arm. "They are 3 months old." "I am Finn," he said uselessly, then felt foolish because she already knew that. Kara nodded. She swayed slightly on her feet, and Finn realized she was very close to collapse. "Sit," he said quickly, pulling out the chair by his small table. "Please, sit down." She sank into it gratefully, adjusting her hold on the babies. Now that she was in better light, Finn could see the shadows under her eyes, the gauntness in her cheeks. Her clothing was worn and patched, and her boots were caked with mud. "They need feeding," Kara said. "I have been nursing them, but my milk is running thin. Do you have goat's milk? Cow's milk?" "I have a cow," Finn said. "I can get milk." He moved toward the door, then hesitated. "Will you be all right here for a moment? I am not going anywhere." Finn grabbed his coat and went out into the cold night air. His cow, Bess, lowed sleepily when he entered the small barn, but she was used to his odd hours and stood patiently while he milked her by lantern light. His hands moved automatically through the familiar task while his mind spun. An orc woman, 2 babies, Gareth's sister and Gareth's grandchildren, apparently, though the family connections seemed tangled. Gareth had never mentioned a sister, never mentioned much of his family at all except in passing. And now here she was, appearing out of the darkness with 2 infants and a pronouncement that Finn would help her raise them. You will do. Not a request. A statement of fact. He finished milking and carried the pail back to the cabin. Inside, Kara had not moved from the chair, but both babies were crying now, their small faces scrunched and red even through their greenish skin tone. Can you heat it? Kara asked. Not too hot, just warm. Finn poured milk into a pot and set it over the embers of his fire, building up the flames. While it warmed, he found 2 clean cloths and wet them, twisting them into makeshift nursing rags. He had seen traveling families do this, had once helped a neighbor whose wife had died in childbirth. When the milk was ready, he tested it on his wrist the way he remembered, then soaked the cloths and handed them to Kara. She put one to each baby's mouth, and the crying stopped as they began to suck greedily. Thank you, she said quietly. Finn nodded. He sat down on the edge of his bed, the only other seat in the small cabin, and watched as she fed the twins. In the firelight, her green skin seemed to glow softly. Her face, now that some of the hardness had eased, was striking in its angles and planes. She looked young, perhaps 25, though it was hard to tell with orcs. How old are you? He asked, then immediately felt rude for asking. 23 winters, she said without looking up. You? 29. Silence settled between them, broken only by the soft suckling sounds of the babies and the crackle of the fire. Your brother, Finn said eventually. Gareth. He was a good man. I am sorry for your loss. He was a fool, Kara said, but there was no heat in it. He went south when he should have stayed north. He helped a human when he should have kept walking. He made friends in all the wrong places. Is that what you think I am? The wrong place? She looked at him then, really looked at him, and Finn saw something shift in her expression. I do not know yet, she said. But you let me in. That is more than most humans would do. Most humans would not find an orc woman on their doorstep at midnight. No, Kara agreed. They would not. Sigrun finished feeding first and promptly fell asleep, a small warm weight against Kara's arm. Dagrun took longer, fussing and squirming even as he nursed, but eventually his eyes drifted closed as well. You can have the bed, Finn said. I will sleep in the chair. You do not have to, you are exhausted. You just walked for 3 days with 2 infants. Take the bed. For a moment he thought she would argue, but then she simply nodded. Finn helped her settle the twins on the bed, building a small barrier of rolled blankets to keep them from rolling off. Kara lay down beside them, still fully clothed, and was asleep almost before her head touched the pillow. Finn banked the fire and wrapped himself in his spare blanket, settling into the chair. It was not comfortable, but he had slept in worse places. Outside, an owl called and the wind picked up, rattling the shutters. He closed his eyes and tried not to think about what morning would bring. When he woke, gray dawn light was filtering through the windows and the smell of porridge filled the cabin. Finn sat up, his neck aching, and found Kara at his small stove, stirring a pot. The twins lay on the bed, awake but quiet, watching the ceiling with unfocused infant eyes. You did not have to cook, Finn said. You fed my niece and nephew. It seemed fair. Kara ladled porridge into 2 wooden bowls and handed him one. I found your oats. I hope you do not mind. No, that is fine. Finn took the bowl. The porridge was thick and good, flavored with a pinch of salt. They ate in silence, standing awkwardly in the small space until both bowls were empty. We should talk, Kara said, setting her bowl aside. About what happens now. All right. She crossed her arms, a defensive gesture that made her look both vulnerable and fierce. I meant what I said last night. I need help. I cannot raise 2 infants alone, not without the clan. I have no money, no land, no prospects, but I can work. I am strong. I know farming, hunting, tanning, weaving. I can earn my keep. You want to stay here, Finn said slowly. Yes. For how long? Until they are grown, or until you tell me to leave? Finn looked at the babies on the bed, then back at Kara. People will talk, he said. A human man and an orc woman living together. They will assume things. Let them assume. It could make trouble for you, for them. Trouble follows orcs regardless, Kara said flatly. At least here we would have a roof. Finn rubbed his face. He had built this cabin 5 years ago after leaving his family's farm to strike out on his own. He had carved a life from the wilderness, acre by acre, crop by crop. It was a solitary life, but it was his, and now suddenly it was not solitary anymore. All right, he heard himself say. You can stay. Kara's shoulders dropped half an inch, relief flickering across her face. Thank you. But we need rules, Finn continued. Clear boundaries. You said people will assume things. I do not want there to be confusion between us. Agreed. You take the bed. I will build a second sleeping space in the loft. We split the work evenly. And we raise the twins together, but as partners, not as anything else. Partners, Kara repeated. Yes. That is acceptable. They shook hands, her grip firm and calloused, and Finn tried to ignore the strange flutter in his chest that might have been anxiety or might have been something else entirely. The first week was chaos. Finn had never lived with an infant, let alone two. The twins woke every few hours, crying for milk or needing their cloths changed or simply wanting to be held. Kara handled most of it with a competence that suggested experience, but even she looked frayed by the end of each day. Finn did what he could. He learned to heat milk to the right temperature, to swaddle the babies so they felt secure, to recognize the difference between Dagrun's hungry cry and Sigrun's tired cry. He built a second bed frame in the loft and stuffed a new mattress with straw and dried moss. He reinforced the fence around his vegetable garden and checked his trap lines and mucked out Bess's stall, all while keeping an ear out for the sounds of distress from the cabin. Kara worked beside him when she could, the twins strapped to her chest and back in slings she had woven from scraps of cloth. She moved through his fields like she had been born to them, pulling weeds and checking the health of his late summer crops with a practiced eye. You know farming, Finn observed one afternoon. My clan lived by farming and hunting both, Kara said, before the blight came. What happened? She was quiet for a moment, her hands still moving through the bean plants. The soil turned sour, nothing would grow. We tried moving to new fields, but it followed us. Some said it was a curse. Others said it was just bad luck. Either way, we could not stay together. Too many mouths to feed and not enough food. Where did the others go? Scattered. Some went east to the mountains. Some went west to the coast. I do not know if I will see any of them again. There was a loneliness in her voice that Finn recognized, the particular ache of being cut off from everything familiar. I am sorry, he said. Kara shrugged. It is the way of things. Clans break apart. People move on. At least I have Dagrun and Sigrun. And me, I suppose. She glanced at him, and for the first time he saw something that might have been the beginning of a smile. Yes, and you. In the second week, visitors came. Finn was in the barn when he heard the sound of horses. He stepped outside to find 3 men dismounting in his yard. He recognized 2 of them, Luther Crane and his son Tom, farmers from the valley. The third man was a stranger, heavy-set and hard-eyed. Finn, Luther said, tipping his hat. Good to see you. Luther, Tom. Finn nodded at them, then looked at the stranger. I do not believe we have met. This is Marcus Venn, Luther said. He is looking for someone. We thought you might have seen her. An orc woman, Marcus said. His voice was rough like gravel scraping, traveling with 2 babies. She would have passed through here recently. Finn kept his expression neutral. Why are you looking for her? She is a thief, Marcus said. Her brother stole from me, and when he died, she took what was his, including what he owed. What did he owe you? Money? Labor? It does not matter. The debt passes to her now, and I mean to collect. Finn felt something cold settle in his stomach. I have not seen anyone like that, he lied. Marcus studied him, and Finn had the uncomfortable sensation of being weighed and measured. If you do see her, Marcus said slowly, you would be wise to send word. Harboring a debtor is a serious matter. I will keep that in mind. The three men left, but not before Marcus cast a long look at Finn's cabin. When they were out of sight, Finn hurried inside. Kara was in the loft with the twins, pressed against the far wall, a knife in her hand. They are gone, Finn said. She did not lower the knife. The third man, that was Marcus Venn. You know him. He was one of Gareth's creditors. My brother borrowed money from him to buy seed for the clan. When the crops failed, Gareth could not pay him back. Marcus wanted Gareth to work off the debt, but then Gareth got sick and she stopped, her jaw tight. Marcus claims I owe him now. He says the debt transfers to family. How much does he claim you owe? 50 silver crowns plus interest. I do not have 50 copper pennies, let alone 50 crowns. Finn swore under his breath. 50 crowns was a fortune, more than most farmers saw in 2 years of hard work. He cannot just transfer a debt like that. There are laws. Laws for humans, Kara said bitterly. Not for orcs. That is not, it is true, and you know it. She finally lowered the knife. I am sorry I brought this to your door. If you want me to leave, I understand. No, she blinked. No, you are not leaving. We will figure this out. Finn, you do not understand. Marcus Venn is not a man who forgives debts. He will come back, and when he does, we will deal with it, Finn said firmly. You came here because Gareth trusted me. You came here because you had nowhere else to go. I am not going to turn you out now. Kara looked at him for a long moment, and Finn saw something complicated pass across her face. Why? She asked quietly. Why are you doing this? Because it is the right thing to do. That is not enough of a reason, not for this. Finn thought about it, about the real answer beneath the simple one. Because I know what it is like to be alone, he said finally. Because Gareth was my friend and I owed him more than one winter's shelter. Because those babies deserve a chance at a life. Because, he stopped, searching for the words. Because you knocked on my door and I let you in, and that means something. It has to mean something. Kara's eyes were bright, and for a terrible moment Finn thought she might cry. But instead she straightened her shoulders and nodded once, sharp and decisive. Thank you, she said. You are welcome. That night, after the twins were asleep, they sat by the fire and talked. Kara told him more about Gareth, about her brother's stubborn optimism and terrible jokes, about the way he had taken in his orphaned grandchildren without hesitation, even though he was old and tired and grieving his daughter. He tried so hard to do right by them, Kara said. He borrowed that money because he thought he could turn things around, get the clan back on its feet. He did not know the blight would spread. He did not know he would get sick. He sounds like a good man. He was. Too good, maybe. He trusted too easily. Is that what you think he did with me? Trusted too easily. Kara looked at him, the firelight casting shadows across her face. No, she said. I think he was right about you. The words settled between them, warm and strange, and Finn found himself smiling despite everything. The weeks passed and a rhythm emerged. Finn woke before dawn and milked Bess while Kara fed the twins. They ate breakfast together, then divided the day's work. Finn tended the fields and checked his traps while Kara managed the household, cooking and cleaning and mending clothes with the twins always nearby. In the evenings, they took turns holding Dagrun and Sigrun, walking them around the cabin until they settled into sleep. It was exhausting work, but it was also strangely satisfying. The cabin felt more alive now, filled with noise and movement and purpose. Finn found himself looking forward to the evenings by the fire, to the conversations with Kara that ranged from the practical to the philosophical. She was easy to talk to, once she relaxed. She had a dry sense of humor and a quick mind, and she noticed things that Finn had long since stopped seeing. The way the light fell through the windows at certain hours, the particular call of the thrush that nested in the oak tree, the smell of rain coming from the west. "You pay attention," Finn said one night. "Survival requires attention," Kara replied. "Miss the signs and you miss the danger." "We are not in danger here, are we not?" She glanced at him. "Marcus Venn has not forgotten about us. He is waiting for something, planning something." She was right, and they both knew it. The question was not if Marcus would return, but when. The answer came on a cold morning in early autumn. Finn was splitting wood behind the cabin when he heard horses again. He set down his axe and walked around to the front, where he found Marcus Venn and 4 other men waiting. "Finn Dalton," Marcus said. "We need to talk." "About what?" "About the orc woman you are hiding." "I am not hiding anyone." Marcus smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "Do not insult my intelligence. I have eyes in this valley. I know she is here. I know the babies are here, and I know you have been providing for them." Kara appeared in the doorway of the cabin, the twins in her arms. Her face was set and hard. "There you are," Marcus said. "We have business to settle, you and I." "I owe you nothing," Kara said. "Your brother owed me 50 crowns. He is dead. The debt falls to you." "That is not the law." "It is my law." Marcus gestured to his men. "You can come willingly and work off what you owe, or we can take you by force. Either way, the debt gets paid." "She is not going anywhere," Finn said. Marcus turned to him. "This is not your concern, Dalton. You are on my land, threatening someone under my protection. That makes it my concern." "Your protection?" Marcus laughed. "You think you can protect her?" "You and what army?" "I do not need an army. I need the law." Finn pulled a folded paper from his pocket. "I went to the magistrate in town last week, filed a formal complaint about your harassment. If you try to take her, you will be arrested." It was a bluff, mostly. Finn had gone to the magistrate, but the old man had been skeptical about an orc's rights under human law. Still, the threat was enough to make Marcus hesitate. "The law will not protect her forever," Marcus said. "Maybe not, but I will." Marcus studied him, and Finn saw calculation in those hard eyes. "You are making a mistake, Dalton. You are choosing the wrong side." "I am choosing what is right." "Right." Marcus spat the word. "We will see how righteous you feel when winter comes, and you are feeding 2 orc babies on your dwindling supplies. We will see how noble you are when your neighbors stop talking to you, and your crops start failing because no one will help you bring in the harvest." "If that is a threat, it is a prediction." Marcus swung back up onto his horse. "You have until spring to reconsider. After that, the debt comes due one way or another." He rode away, his men following, and Finn stood in the yard watching them go until they disappeared over the ridge. "He is right," Kara said quietly. She had come down from the cabin, the twins still in her arms. "This will cost you. Your reputation, your livelihood, may be more, I know." "Then why? Because I made a choice," Finn said. "And I am not going to unmake it just because it is hard." Kara looked at him, and there was something raw in her expression, something vulnerable and fierce all at once. "You are a strange man, Finn Dalton." "I have been told that before." She smiled then, a real smile, and Finn felt something shift in his chest, some locked door opening just a crack. Winter came early that year. The first snow fell in late October, dusting the fields with white and turning the world quiet and still. Finn brought in the last of the harvest and stocked the cabin with firewood and preserved food. Kara helped him smoke meat and pickle vegetables, working long hours to ensure they would have enough to last until spring. The twins grew. Dagrun was the larger of the two, round-faced and cheerful, quick to smile at anything that caught his attention. Sigrun was smaller, more serious, with Kara's sharp eyes and a way of studying people that seemed far too knowing for an infant. Finn found himself utterly charmed by them both. He had never thought much about children before. His own childhood had been hard, and he had left his family's farm as soon as he was old enough to make his own way. But watching Dagrun and Sigrun discover the world, seeing their delight in simple things like firelight and falling snow, woke something in him that he had not known was sleeping. "You are good with them," Kara said one evening. She was sitting by the fire, mending one of Finn's shirts while he held Sigrun and tried to coax her to sleep. "They are easy to be good with," Finn said. "Not everyone would say that, especially about orc babies." Finn looked down at Sigrun's small green face, her tiny tusks just beginning to show. "They are just babies," he said, "same as any other." "You really believe that?" "Of course I do." Kara set down her mending. "My brother said you were different. He said you saw people, not categories." I thought he was being naive, but he was right. Gareth was a good judge of character. "He was a terrible judge of character," Kara said. "He trusted Marcus Venn. He trusted half a dozen other people who cheated him or used him, but he was right about you." Finn did not know what to say to that, so he said nothing. He rocked Sigrun gently until her eyes drifted closed, then carried her to the bed and laid her down next to her sleeping brother. When he turned back, Kara was watching him with an expression he could not read. "What?" he asked. "Nothing," she said, "just thinking." "About what?" "About how different this is from what I expected." "What did you expect?" She considered the question. "I expected you to help out of obligation, out of guilt maybe, or some sense of duty to Gareth." "I did not expect," she stopped, searching for words. "I did not expect it to feel like this." "Like what?" "Like family." The word hung in the air between them, precious and fragile. Finn felt his heart do something complicated in his chest. "Is that a bad thing?" he asked quietly. "No," Kara said. "It is terrifying, but it is not bad." They looked at each other across the firelit cabin, and Finn knew, with a certainty that felt like falling, that his feelings for Kara had shifted beyond partnership, beyond friendship, into something deeper and more dangerous. He did not say it, not yet, but he knew she saw it anyway, saw it in his face or his eyes or the way his breath caught when she smiled at him. "Finn," she started, but he shook his head. "Do not," he said. "Not yet. Let us just be what we are for now." Kara nodded slowly. "All right." The winter deepened, and Marcus Venn's prediction began to come true. Finn's neighbors stopped visiting. When he went to town for supplies, people turned away or crossed the street to avoid him. The blacksmith, who had always been friendly, refused to repair Finn's plow blade. The general store owner raised his prices whenever Finn came in. "They know about Kara," Finn told her one night after a particularly cold reception in town, "and they do not approve." "I can leave," Kara said. "Take the twins and go. You do not have to suffer for my sake." "No." Finn's voice was firm. "We are in this together." But it was hard, harder than he had expected. The isolation wore on him, made him doubt himself in the long, dark hours before dawn. He had chosen this, yes, but he had not fully understood the cost. Kara saw his struggle. She did not speak of it directly, but she made sure to be there in small ways. A cup of tea waiting when he came in from the cold. A hand on his shoulder when he sat too long staring into the fire. Stories in the evening, tales from her clan's history that made him laugh or think or simply forget the world outside for a while. "Why are you doing this?" he asked her one night. "Because you did it for me first," she said simply. The twins grew stronger. By midwinter, they were babbling and reaching for things, trying to pull themselves up on furniture. Dagrun was the first to master sitting up on his own, and he celebrated by immediately toppling over and bonking his head on the floor. Sigrun watched her brother's antics with apparent disdain, then proceeded to do exactly the same thing. Finn and Kara laughed until their sides hurt, and for a little while the weight of the winter lifted. In late January, a storm came through that buried the cabin in snow. They were trapped inside for 3 days, the 4 of them in that small space, and Finn expected it to be unbearable. But instead, it was oddly peaceful. They cooked and cleaned and played with the babies. And in the evenings, Kara taught Finn some of the songs from her clan, low melodic things in a language he did not understand, but found beautiful anyway. On the 3rd night, with the twins asleep and the storm finally breaking, Kara said, "I need to tell you something." Finn looked up from the sock he was darning. "All right. When I first came here, I thought of this as temporary, a place to survive the winter, maybe the year. I thought once the twins were older I would move on, find my clan or start over somewhere new. And now I cannot imagine leaving." She met his eyes. "I cannot imagine not having this. You, the twins, even this drafty little cabin. It has become home." Finn set down his darning. "You are not the only one who feels that way. I know." Her voice was soft. "I see how you look at me. I feel it when you are near, and she took a breath. "I feel the same." The words settled into Finn like seeds finding soil. "Kara, I am not asking for anything," she said quickly. "I know the agreement we made. Partners, nothing more. I'm not trying to change that. I just needed you to know." Finn crossed the small space between them. He knelt in front of her chair, taking her hands in his. They were rough and warm, calloused from work. "What if I want to change it?" he asked. "Do you?" "Yes." The word came out fierce and sure. "I have been trying not to want it, trying to keep my distance, but I cannot anymore. I care about you, Kara, not just as a partner or a friend. I care about you." Her eyes were bright. "I care about you too." "Then what do we do?" "I do not know," she laughed, a shaky sound. "I have never done this before, fallen for someone, especially not a human." "I have never fallen for an orc," Finn admitted. "Or anyone, really. I have always been alone. Not anymore." "No, not anymore." They sat together in the firelight, hands clasped, not speaking but not needing to. Outside, the storm broke and the stars came out, cold and brilliant against the black sky. When Marcus Venn returned in early March, Finn was ready. He came alone this time, which was either a good sign or a very bad one. Finn met him in the yard, with Kara standing in the doorway behind him. "I have been thinking about your situation," Marcus said without preamble, "and I have a proposal. I am listening. The debt stands. 50 crowns plus interest. That is 75 crowns now, but I am willing to settle it in labor rather than coin." "What kind of labor?" "The orc woman works for me. 2 years full time. At the end of that, the debt is cleared." "No," Kara said from the doorway. Marcus ignored her. "It is a fair offer, Dalton, better than she would get anywhere else." "She is not going to work for you," Finn said. "Then the debt stands, and I will take other measures to collect." "What if I paid it?" Finn heard himself say. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You have 75 crowns." "No." "But I can work it off. The same terms you offered Kara, 2 years of labor." "Finn, no," Kara said. "You," Marcus looked amused, "you would indenture yourself to save an orc." "I would honor a debt that Gareth Moss left behind," Finn said. "He saved my life once. I owe him that much." "This is insane," Marcus said, but Finn could see he was considering it. "What about your farm, your land?" "Kara can manage it. She knows farming as well as I do. And if she runs, she will not." Marcus studied them both. "You are serious about this?" "Completely." "Then I accept." Marcus smiled. 2 years of labor starting at the spring planting. You work my fields, my timber, whatever I need. In exchange, the debt is cleared and the orc and her brats are left alone. I want it in writing, Finn said. A legal contract, witnessed and filed with the magistrate. Fine. Come to town tomorrow and we will draw it up. Marcus mounted his horse. You are a fool, Dalton, but a noble fool. Let us see how noble you feel after 2 years of real work. He rode away, and Finn turned to find Kara staring at him with an expression of fury and disbelief. What did you just do? She demanded. What I had to. You sold yourself into servitude for me, for us. Do you understand what that means? Yes. 2 years, Finn. 2 years of your life given to that man, I know. Why? Her voice cracked. Why would you do that? Finn took her hands the same way he had that night by the fire. Because I love you, he said simply. Because I love those babies in there, because this is my family now and I protect my family. Kara's breath hitched. You love me. Yes, you absolute idiot. She was crying now, tears streaming down her green cheeks. You beautiful, stupid, impossible man. Is that a yes? A yes to what? To us? To this? To making it real? She kissed him. It was fierce and salt-sweet with tears, and Finn felt the last of his defenses crumble away. When they pulled apart, they were both breathless. Yes, Kara said. Yes to all of it. They went to town the next day, leaving the twins with a neighbor woman who was one of the few people still willing to acknowledge them. The magistrate drew up the contract, his face carefully neutral as he read the terms aloud. 2 years of labor in exchange for the settlement of Gareth Moss's debt to Marcus Venn. Finn signed it without hesitation. Marcus signed as well, looking satisfied. Pleasure doing business with you, Dalton. I will expect you at my farm on Monday. They rode home in silence, Kara tense beside him on the wagon seat. I know you are angry, Finn said. I am not angry. Her voice was tight. I am terrified. Of what? Of losing you. Of something happening to you while you are working for that man. Of 2 years being too long and us forgetting what this felt like. Finn pulled the wagon to a stop. He turned to face her fully. Listen to me. 2 years is a long time, but it is not forever. I will come home when I can. We will write letters. And when it is over, I will come back to you and the twins and we will build a real life together. I promise you that. You cannot promise something like that. Life does not work that way. Then I will make it work that way. He cupped her face in his hands. I am not going anywhere, Kara. Not really. My heart stays here with you. She closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. I am still furious with you, I know, but I also love you for it. I know that too. They drove the rest of the way home in silence, but it was a different silence now, one that held both grief and hope in equal measure. Finn began his labor for Marcus Venn on a cold Monday in March. The work was brutal, exactly as hard as Marcus could make it without breaking the terms of the contract. Finn plowed fields and hauled timber and mended fences until his hands bled and his back screamed. He worked from dawn until long after dark, and Marcus watched him with the satisfied expression of a man who had won something valuable. But Finn held on to what mattered. Every Sunday, Marcus was obligated to give him a day of rest, and Finn rode home to his cabin, to Kara and the twins. Those Sundays became the center of his world, the thing he worked toward through each endless week. Kara was managing the farm beautifully. She had expanded the vegetable garden and improved the irrigation. She had taught herself to repair tools and had even built a new chicken coop. The cabin was cleaner and more organized than it had ever been under Finn's bachelor care, and the twins were thriving. Dagrun had started pulling himself up on furniture, and Sigrun had begun to babble in a way that sounded almost like words. They recognized Finn when he came home, reaching for him with chubby green hands and squealing with delight when he picked them up. "They miss you during the week," Kara said one Sunday as they sat together watching the twins play on a blanket in the spring sunshine. "I miss them too." "I miss all of you." "How much longer?" Finn did the math in his head. "A year and 9 months, maybe less if I can negotiate with Marcus. He is not the negotiating type." "No," Finn sighed, "but I have to try." The summer passed and the autumn and another winter. Finn lost weight and gained muscle, his body hardening under the relentless labor. He learned to pace himself, to find small moments of rest in the endless work. And every Sunday he came home. Kara was waiting for him always. She would have a meal ready and the cabin warm, and they would spend the day together as a family, pretending for just a little while that things were normal. They talked about the future, about what they would do when Finn's service was done, about whether they should marry and how that would work given the laws against human orc unions in some provinces, about whether they should stay on the farm or move somewhere more accepting. "I do not care where we are," Kara said, "as long as we are together." "We will be," Finn promised. "I swear it." In the second spring of his service, something changed. Finn was working in Marcus's timber lot when he heard shouting. He straightened up to see Marcus arguing with 2 men, their voices rising in anger. One of the men shoved Marcus and Marcus shoved back, and suddenly there were fists flying. Finn ran over, pulling the men apart. "What is going on?" "These idiots think I cheated them," Marcus snarled. "They think I shorted their lumber order." "You did short it," one of the men said. "We paid for 50 boards and got 42. The agreement was for 42. The agreement was for 50 and you know it." Finn looked between them. "Do you have the agreement in writing?" "No," the man admitted. "It was a handshake deal. Then you have no proof either way." Finn turned to Marcus. "But if you did short them, that is theft." Marcus glared at him. "Whose side are you on, Dalton?" "The side of honesty." The argument continued, but eventually the 2 men left, still angry but without their lumber. Marcus rounded on Finn. "Do not ever question me in front of customers again," he said. "Then do not cheat your customers." "I did not cheat anyone. The deal was for 42 boards. "Was it?" Marcus's face went red. "You are walking a dangerous line, Dalton." "I am doing the work I agreed to do. Nothing more, nothing less. But I am not going to stand by and watch you rob people." "Then maybe I should reconsider the terms of our contract." "The contract is legal and binding. You cannot change it." Marcus stepped closer. "I can make the next year of your life hell. Remember that." He did. Finn's work got harder, the hours longer, the conditions worse. But he endured. He thought of Kara, of Dagrun and Sigrun, of the life waiting for him on the other side of this trial, and he endured. The twins had their first birthday in early summer. Finn was able to get special permission from Marcus to have the entire day off, and he made the most of it. Kara had baked a small cake with honey and dried berries, and they let the twins smash their hands into it and make a glorious mess. Dagrun took his first real steps that day, stumbling from Kara to Finn and back again with a huge grin on his face. Sigrun watched her brother with her usual seriousness, then promptly stood up and walked across the cabin like she had been doing it for months. "Show off," Kara said fondly. Finn laughed, scooping up both twins and spinning them around until they shrieked with joy. When he set them down, he found Kara watching him with soft eyes. "What?" he asked. "You are a good father to them." "I am not their father." "You are the only father they will ever know. And you are good at it." Finn felt something warm unfold in his chest. "Thank you." That night, after the twins were asleep, Kara and Finn sat outside under the stars. "I have been thinking," Kara said, "about what happens after your service ends." "What about it?" "I want us to be married." properly married with witnesses and vows and everything. Finn turned to her. "Are you proposing to me?" "I suppose I am," she smiled. "What do you say?" "I say yes. Absolutely yes." She kissed him, long and sweet, and Finn felt like the luckiest man alive. The final year of Finn's service crawled by. He marked the days on a small wooden tally he kept in his pocket, scratching a line for each one that passed. Spring to summer to autumn to winter, the wheel turning slowly but surely toward freedom. Marcus worked him harder than ever, as if trying to break him before the contract ran out. But Finn held firm. He thought of Kara's face when he proposed properly, thought of Dagrun and Sigrun running to greet him when he came home for good, and he kept going. In late February, a month before his service was due to end, Marcus called him into the farmhouse. "Sit down, Dalton." Finn sat warily. "What is this about?" "I have been thinking about our arrangement. You have been a good worker, better than I expected. I would like to extend the contract." "No, hear me out. Another year of service and I will pay you a wage on top of clearing the debt, real money, enough to buy more land, expand your farm." "No," Finn said again. "You are making a mistake. Where else are you going to get an opportunity like this?" "I do not want an opportunity. I want my freedom." Marcus's expression hardened. "Then you are a fool, maybe, but I am a free fool in 1 month. We will see about that." Finn left the farmhouse with a sick feeling in his stomach. Marcus was planning something, he was sure of it. But there was nothing he could do except wait and see what came. The last month passed in a blur of anxiety and anticipation. Finn worked his final days, counting down the hours until the contract expired. Kara was a nervous wreck every Sunday when he came home, convinced that Marcus would find some way to extend the servitude. "He cannot," Finn reassured her. "The contract is clear. 2 years, no more. Legal documents have never protected orcs before. Why would they protect you?" "Because I am human, and because I will hold him to every word." The final day came on a bright March morning. Finn finished his last task, a fence repair on the northern boundary of Marcus's land, and walked to the farmhouse. Marcus was waiting on the porch. "Your service is complete," Marcus said. He did not sound happy about it. "Yes, the debt is cleared. You are free to go. I want the discharge papers." Marcus handed over a folded document. Finn opened it and read carefully. It was all there, legally witnessed and stamped. The debt of Gareth Moss, settled in full through the labor of Finn Dalton. "No further claims or obligations." "Thank you," Finn said. "Do not thank me. You earned this. Though I still think you are a fool." "That may be, but I am a fool who is going home." Finn walked off Marcus's land for the last time, the discharge papers tucked safely in his coat. He felt lighter with every step, as if he were shedding a weight he had carried for 2 years. He made it home by mid-afternoon. Kara was in the garden with the twins, showing them how to plant seeds. When she saw him, she froze. "Finn, it is done," he said. "I am free." She ran to him, the twins toddling after her, and threw her arms around his neck. Finn held her tight, breathing in the scent of her hair, feeling the solid warmth of her against him. "You are really free," she whispered. "Really free." Dagrun and Sigrun reached them, grabbing at Finn's legs and babbling excitedly. He scooped them up, one in each arm, and they laughed and pulled at his hair. "We are together," Kara said, her voice thick with emotion. "Finally, really together." "Yes," Finn said. "And we are never going to be apart again." They were married a month later, in a small ceremony on their own land. The local magistrate had initially refused to perform the ceremony, citing laws against human orc unions. But Finn had found an old circuit judge who was more progressive and willing to bend the rules. The judge came to the farm on a warm April morning and married them under the oak tree where Finn had first split wood on that long-ago day before Kara arrived. There were no guests. Just Finn, Kara, the twins, and the judge. Kara wore a simple dress she had sewn herself, dyed green with oak bark to match her skin. Finn wore his best shirt and trousers, cleaned and pressed for the occasion. They spoke their vows simply and directly. Finn promised to love and protect Kara and the twins for the rest of his life. Kara promised to stand beside him through whatever came, to build a life and a family together. When the judge pronounced them married, Finn kissed his wife for the first time as her husband, and Dagrun and Sigrun clapped their small hands in delight. That night, they celebrated with a good meal and music. Kara sang the songs from her clan, and Finn joined in where he could, his voice rough but earnest. The twins fell asleep to the sound of their parents' voices, safe and warm and loved. The years that followed were not easy, but they were good. Finn and Kara expanded the farm, adding new fields and a larger barn. They bought a second cow and a small flock of sheep. The vegetable garden flourished under Kara's care, producing more than they could eat and providing surplus to sell in town. The townspeople were slow to accept their marriage, but they could not argue with results. Finn's farm became one of the most productive in the valley, and his honesty in business earned him a grudging respect. Some people never came around, but others did, especially as they saw Dagrun and Sigrun growing up healthy and happy. The twins thrived. Dagrun was outgoing and friendly, quick to make friends with the other children in the valley despite his green skin and small tusks. Sigrun was quieter but fiercely intelligent, always reading or asking questions about how things worked. Finn taught them both to farm, to fish, to track game in the woods. Kara taught them the songs and stories of her clan, passing on a heritage that might otherwise have been lost. They grew up bilingual, speaking both the human common tongue and the orcish language their mother had learned from her own mother. When the twins were 3, Kara discovered she was pregnant. It was a surprise, and a joyful one. Finn had not thought much about having children of his own, had been content with raising Dagrun and Sigrun. But the idea of a child who was both his and Kara's, a bridge between their two worlds, filled him with a fierce protective love. Kara was terrified. What if something goes wrong? She asked. Human orc children are rare. No one knows if it is even safe. We will figure it out, Finn said. Together. They traveled to a city 3 days' ride away where there was a healer who specialized in complicated pregnancies. The healer examined Kara and pronounced her healthy, the baby developing normally. Half-human, half-orc children are unusual, the healer said, but not unheard of. With proper care, there is no reason this should not go well. Kara's pregnancy progressed smoothly. She worked in the garden and the house until her belly grew too large to move comfortably, and then Finn took over her tasks while she directed him from a chair. Dagrun and Sigrun were fascinated by the idea of a new sibling, constantly asking when the baby would arrive. In late autumn, Kara went into labor. It was a long, difficult birth that lasted through the night and into the next day. Finn stayed by her side the entire time, holding her hand and wiping her forehead with cool cloths. The healer had traveled from the city to attend the birth, and her calm competence helped Finn keep his own fear under control. Finally, just after dawn, the baby was born. A boy, small and squalling, with skin that was a pale olive tone halfway between Finn's and Kara's. He had his mother's pointed ears but his father's nose, and when he opened his eyes they were a striking hazel color. "He is perfect," Kara whispered, cradling the baby against her chest. "He is," Finn agreed, his voice thick with emotion. They named him Nathan, and Dagrun and Sigrun were enchanted with their new baby brother. They helped care for him, bringing diapers and singing to him when he cried. Nathan grew quickly, a happy baby who smiled easily and laughed often. 2 years later, Kara gave birth again, this time to another boy. The birth was easier this time, and the baby was healthy and strong. They named him Aaron, and he had his father's blonde hair and his mother's green-tinged skin, a perfect blend of both parents. Finn and Kara's family was complete. 2 biological children and 2 adopted ones, all loved equally, all thriving. The farm prospered. Finn's hard work and Kara's clever management turned their small homestead into a successful operation. They were never wealthy, but they were comfortable, and they had enough to provide for their children and even help their neighbors in hard times. Marcus Venn died when Nathan was 5 and Aaron was 3. Finn attended the funeral out of a sense of obligation, but he felt no grief. Marcus had been a hard man, and Finn had no fond memories of the 2 years he had spent in service. But the debt was paid, and Finn could move forward without that shadow hanging over him. The twins, Dagrun and Sigrun, grew into remarkable young people. Dagrun became a skilled carpenter, apprenticing with a master in town and eventually opening his own workshop. He married a human woman who did not care about his green skin or his tusks, and they had children of their own, further blending the human and orc bloodlines in the valley. Sigrun pursued learning with a passion that surprised everyone. She traveled to the city to study medicine, becoming one of the first orc healers in the region. She returned to the valley and opened a practice that served everyone, human and orc alike, earning respect through her skill and dedication. Nathan and Aaron grew up in a world slightly more accepting than the one Finn and Kara had navigated. There was still prejudice, still people who looked at the mixed family with suspicion or disdain. But there were also people who saw them for what they were, a family built on love and commitment, proof that the divisions between human and orc were not as insurmountable as some believed. When Dagrun and Sigrun turned 18, Finn and Kara sat them down for a conversation they had been dreading. "You are adults now," Finn said, "and there are things you should know about your history." He told them about Gareth, about the debt, about the night Kara had knocked on his door with 2 tiny babies and changed his life forever. He told them about Marcus Venn and the 2 years of servitude, about the struggles and the choices that had brought them all to this point. Dagrun and Sigrun listened quietly, their expression serious. "We always knew we were adopted," Sigrun said finally. "We could see we did not look like Nathan or Aaron. But we never felt less loved," Dagrun added. "You are our parents in every way that matters." Kara's eyes filled with tears. "We wanted you to know the truth, to understand where you came from." "We do," Sigrun said, "and we are grateful, to you and to Uncle Gareth and to whoever our birth mother was." "She would be proud of you," Kara said softly. "Both of you." They talked long into the night, answering questions and sharing memories. By the time the conversation ended, Finn felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The truth was out, and it had only strengthened the bonds between them. The years continued to pass, marked by harvests and birthdays, by weddings and grandchildren, by the slow, steady accumulation of a life well lived. Finn's hair turned gray, then white. Kara's face gained lines and her hands grew gnarled with age, but her eyes remained sharp and her spirit strong. Nathan and Aaron grew into men, taking over more and more of the farm work as Finn and Kara slowed down. They celebrated their 25th wedding anniversary with a gathering of their entire family. Dagrun and his wife brought their 3 children. Sigrun came from the city with her partner, a human doctor she had met during her studies. Nathan and Aaron were both there with their families as well, filling the farmhouse with noise and laughter. Finn looked around at the crowded room, at the faces that represented two bloodlines woven together, and felt a profound sense of contentment. "What are you thinking?" Kara asked, coming to stand beside him. "I am thinking about that night you knocked on my door," Finn said. 26 years ago now. I was so confused. I had no idea what I was getting into." "You said I would do," Kara reminded him with a smile. "You did more than do. You became my whole world." She leaned her head against his shoulder. "We made something good, did we not? We made something wonderful." That night, after the guests had gone and the house was quiet again, Finn and Kara sat together on the porch, watching the stars come out. "I have been thinking about Gareth," Kara said. "About what he would think of all this." "He would be proud," Finn said. "Of you, of the twins, of everything we built." "I hope so." She was quiet for a moment. "I miss him, even after all these years. I know. But I am grateful too, because losing him brought me here, brought me to you." Finn took her hand, their fingers intertwining in the familiar way of long marriage. "I am grateful too for all of it, even the hard parts." "Especially the hard parts," Kara said. "They made us who we are." They sat in comfortable silence, two people who had traveled a long road together and come out stronger on the other side. When winter came that year, it was harsh and cold. Finn's joints ached and his breath came short, but he refused to slow down. There was always work to be done, and he had never been one to shy away from labor. Kara watched him with worried eyes but did not push. She knew her husband well enough to know that he needed to feel useful, needed to contribute. One morning in late February, Finn did not wake up. Kara found him still and peaceful in their bed, his expression calm. He had simply slipped away in his sleep, his heart finally giving out after 73 years of steady beating. The funeral was attended by half the valley. Humans and orcs both came to pay their respects to a man who had lived with integrity and kindness, who had built bridges where others had built walls. Dagrun and Sigrun spoke at the service, their voices strong despite their grief. They talked about the father who had chosen them, who had raised them with love and patience, who had shown them what it meant to be good. Nathan and Aaron spoke too, remembering a man who had worked hard and loved deeply, who had faced every challenge with quiet determination. Kara did not speak. She simply sat in the front row, surrounded by her children and grandchildren, and let her tears fall. After the funeral, after the guests had left and the house was empty again, Kara walked out to the oak tree where she and Finn had been married. She stood under its branches and looked out over the land they had worked together, the fields and gardens and barn that held a lifetime of shared labor. "Thank you," she said quietly, speaking to the memory of her husband, to the wind, to the land itself. "Thank you for saying yes, for taking us in, for building this life with me." The wind rustled through the oak's branches, and somewhere in the distance a bird called, and Kara felt a sense of peace settle over her. She lived for another 8 years, surrounded by her family, watching her grandchildren grow and her great-grandchildren arrive. She told them all stories of their grandfather Finn, of his kindness and his stubbornness, of the way he had loved without reservation. When Kara finally passed, she was buried beside Finn under the oak tree, and the whole valley mourned the loss of a woman who had proven that love could cross any divide. The farm stayed in the family, passing to Nathan and then to his children. The cabin was expanded over the years, but the original room where Kara had first knocked at midnight was preserved, a shrine to the beginning of everything. Dagrun and Sigrun, Finn and Kara's first children, lived long and full lives. They never forgot the night their mother had brought them to a stranger's door, or the man who had opened it without hesitation. They passed the story down to their own children, who passed it to theirs, until it became legend. the legend of the orc mother who knocked at midnight with twin babies, and the human man who said yes. The legend of a love that defied expectations, of a family built on choice rather than blood, of a life that proved what was possible when people chose kindness over fear. And in the valley, where humans and orcs had once eyed each other with suspicion, children of mixed heritage grew up without question, living proof that the walls between peoples were not nearly as solid as they seemed. All because one man, woken from sleep by an unexpected knock, had opened his door and said the only thing that mattered: "Come in."